All right, so we're jumping into a wheel bearing replacement, and we actually need a lower ball joint is actually going out on this truck as well. It's a 2005 Dodge Dakota. It's actually not too bad of a job to do. You only need a couple tools here. Let's go over what you need. 1/2 inch, whatever. If you have an impact, that's great. Pry bar to help relieve the tension of the upper control arm. And we got three sockets technically. This is a 15/16. We have a 13/16. And this big one is like 1 7/16 inches. I use it to get this one off, but it is loose, so it's not the exact size, but luckily it was able to break the thing loose. I got it off. But that 1 7/16 got it done, but it's not tight, so just a heads up on that. So what we need is, you actually don't have to take the brakes out if you don't want. You just need to get the big bolts on the back. This guy right here, you got 2 of those, and this whole thing can pop off and just put it to the side. And then you need to loosen the upper control arm, tie rod end, and you're gonna have to get the bottom ball joint loose as well. That's to get the bottom ball joint out. Now, all you have to do for the wheel bearing is you're going to take this bad boy off, take the brakes off, and then get the nut off. And then you got, I think there's 3 bolts. Yeah, there's 1, and the lighting's going to be awful. There's 3, 1 on the top, 2 on the bottom. You got to get those 3 out, and then you can just smack it a few times and it'll pop right off. So what you need to do too is make sure that you can turn your wheel back and forth, because this one here, you can get one when the wheels turn completely to the left, and then turn it completely to the right, you can get the other 2. Make sure you got WD-40 or PB Blaster, some type of penetrating oil. You want to make sure you lube the bolts up. Just lube everything up real good, because once you get those 3 bolts out, you're just going to tap on this thing a few times. So also remember, make sure you got a big hammer to do that as well. So these get tight. The threads get really, really bad on them. They'll rust out, especially if you live up in the salt belt like we do. The threads will get bad. So what I do is, if you have an impact, take them out a little bit, put them back in, spray some blaster on it, take the unthread it a little bit more, thread it back in. Just keep doing that, working the threads, working that crap out of there. Because if you take it all the way out the first time, it really messes the threads up. So just a heads up on that. So what we're gonna do is break these loose. Hopefully, if you can't get them, also make sure you got a big old breaker bar. These ones don't look all that bad, so hopefully we can get them. Yeah, this one was already. I broke this one loose, so what we can do is work smarter, not harder. Use an impact. Yep, that one's out. There's one. I don't know if you can see the threads, how dirty they are. Before we put them back in, we will clean those threads up. Turn the wheel around.
Don't hit me. It's turning. It's turning.
Alright. Don't need the extension on these ones. Oh jeez. They're flying.
Can't see anything, Daddy.
Loosened up. See if we can get up into this one. You might have to push this. Be gentle with these. You also don't want to smash on this. Just be gentle. You might have to tap on a little bit to break it loose, because sometimes they get some rust and stuff in there. So you do have to tap on them. Just make sure you put the nut back on. Don't hit what, unless you're replacing the axle. But don't hit it with there's no nut. Mess the threads up. Get that in there. I should actually be able to get that out. It's a little tight. One's out as well. All 3 of them are out. Again, we're going to clean all these up real nice before we put them back in. So now we're going to hammer this off a few times. There's different techniques that you can use. Use the power steering to knock these off. I don't know. It's nice to smack it with a hammer, get your frustration out every once in a while. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so hammer on a little bit. You want to go back and forth, but as you can see, we're getting a gap here. What you can do is you'll see this is opened up a good bit here, but it closed back down here. So just hit from the bottom, go up, side to side. At some point in time, it will just pop right off. There it is, one wheel bearing. I got the old wheel bearing out. Luckily for me, this is a, was it 2-wheel ABS, not 4-wheel ABS, so this is a little cheaper for me. This doesn't have an ABS sensor or speed sensor in it. So you got Moog, this is a higher end wheel bearing. Toss that. Yeah, if I was you guys, if you're doing any type of suspension work, it is more expensive, but Moog is such a high quality and good warranties on them. Recommend them. But yeah, so we clean the knuckle up as much as we can. We're not going to spend too much time on cleaning it. But what I like to do is on the knuckle itself, where this goes into the knuckle, I lube all that up, put some antifreeze or whatever, or antifreeze. Yeah, looking at the antifreeze here. Anti-seize. Put some anti-seize on here, so next time if you need to take it off, you don't need to beat it off so bad. It'll just kind of come out easily. Alrighty, so after I clean these up, I put a little bit Loctite on there. Not a ton, a little bit. And you fit it, find the hole, and then you tighten her down. I'll find the torque specs for you guys and I will post them here shortly. But yeah, tighten these 3 down, and luckily you can do it by hand when you clean all these up, see? Boom, easy enough. The job has been completed. We did a wheel bearing hub assembly on a 2-wheel ABS truck. So this doesn't have a speed sensor in the front here. And then we did also a ball joint on the bottom. I had 2 separate videos on that. So torque specs, that is kind of a little bit hard to find. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think these are like 20, 23, 25 pounds. The ones behind them, the main brackets that I took off, if you, like I said, you don't have to take this off the caliber itself. You can just take the bracket off. I think those are darn near like 130, like 100, something like that. A lot of times, honestly, what I do is I just put them tight. I put a little bit of Loctite on them, and I tighten down pretty darn tight because the bolts are big too, so they can handle some torque. Now the hubs, same thing. Put a little bit of Loctite, and I tighten them down pretty darn tight. So it does stink. If you guys know the torque specs actually on hand, leave them in the comments because I'm not actually sure. I tried looking them up, couldn't really find anything without really spending a ton of time on it. But just either way, and then this guy too. I think these are pretty tight, like 100 and something as well. So yeah, my fault. Couldn't find them. If you guys know them, please put in the comments. Let everybody else see them. Either way, that was front wheel bearing on an 05 Dakota. So this probably works on other years as well. It's a little rusty, but not a hard job at all. You guys can do it with normal hand tools. If you got an air compressor and an impact, very, very helpful. I think that's about it. So yeah, have a good one, guys. God bless.